Isabel Allende was born August 2nd, 1942, in Lima, Peru. Her father was a diplomat who abandoned the family when she was 2 years old. They were forced to move in with her mother's father, her grandfather. He was very wealthy and held a prominent position in society. They lived in his lavish home, while all the while her mother did not have a dime to her name. She admired her grandfather. She saw how her mom was suffering due to lack and did not want to be like her. She learned at a very young age that money equaled power, happiness, and rule. Upon becoming a young lady, her mother remarried. He was a very prominent man in society, and due to his position, they moved around quite often, causing Isabel never to have a complete grounding in her life. Isabel was determined to make a life for herself and not be at the mercy of a man or his wealth. She chose the path of becoming a career journalist. She married an engineer by the name of Miguel Frias, and they had 2 children, Paula and Nicholas. Her daughter Paula passed away in 1992 and became the inspiration for her memoir entitled Paula, which I will discuss later in detail. Isabel was not only an author and journalist, she also worked on a television show from 1970 until 1975 in Santiago. She gained great popularity from hosting interviews with prominent people in society, as well as hosting comedians through comic shows. In the early stages of her career, she was well known and given much recognition to her involvement in short plays and children's stories. Life seemed to be going great for Allende and her family until September 11, 1973. Her uncle Salvador Gracias, the first freely elected socialist president, was assassinated, and the socialist government was overthrown. Chile fell back under the dictatorship. Allende fought with the people who shared the beliefs of her uncle to try to end the rule of dictatorship in Chile. She was unsuccessful, but due to her efforts, her life became at risk. Her and her family fled to Venezuela in 1975. While in Venezuela, it was very difficult for her to find a position as a journalist. She slowed down her writing due to being discouraged about finding a position. She found work as a school administrator from 1979 until 1982. She received news that her grandfather was on his deathbed. To keep his legacy and past alive, she began to write a letter to him. That letter became known as the House of Spirits. In 1982, she completed the book, The House of Spirits. However, due to the fact that in Latin America, women authors were discriminated against and publishers were not used to reading long novels, she had trouble trying to get her work published. Luckily for her, she had her work placed with a publisher in Barcelona. It was eventually published in 1982. In 1985, it was written into English translation and later produced into an English film. Shortly after the production of the book in 1982, she produced a children's book called The Porcelain Lady in 1984. Her career as a journalist began to bloom. Being fluent in English, she chose to move to the United States, and she made New Jersey her home of residence. Several of her books that were published were known and great for its political themes and its themes of love. They often combine together, political and love. Some of the best known books are Of Love, of Shadows, published in 1987. It deals with political repression. Eva Luna, published in 1987, is a book about the exploration of redemptive love and resistance to political terror. The Infinite Plan, published in 1993, deals with social upheavals, not of Latin America, but of the United States. The book closest to her heart, Paula. Paula was produced in memory of her daughter, who died after spending a year in a coma. Her daughter was dear to her heart and the love of her life. In memory of her daughter, she funded the Isabel Allende Foundation, which provides grants for programs to advocate for the rights of women. Allende was very passionate about the rights of women after seeing her mother and several women in Latin America struggle through the political rule of men who were dominant in society. Allende is greatly known for a writer who combines Latin American politics, political and social issues into novels that produce popular appeal. She adds a great volume of magical realism. She adds a gift of fairy tale to the real life that makes it easier for someone to read and relate to, but also gives a little bit of hope through the reading. Allende believes that magical realism is a literary device that allows invisible forces to move the world through dreams, legends, myths, emotion, passion, and history. It gives you the capacity to see and write about the dimensions of reality, not just as from a realistic realm. The literary style that she uses amounts to the strong statement on the limitations of reason and analysis. Magical realism and spirituality allows Allende to emphasize her main theme being the power of love. She has said many times that she believes so strongly in the power of love and generosity and justice that she is not bothered that some critics call her sentimental. What she chooses to write about, she is passionate about. She has experienced in real life, and she has met many women who has experienced it as well. She believes that love empowers a person to overcome personal tragedy, such as she has in her life dealing with the death of her daughter and the divorce of her first husband, the death of her grandfather, and the death of her uncle. In the house, several of her books demonstrate how love has caused her main characters to overcome the hurt. In The House of Spirits, Alba's love, one of the main characters, helped Esteban, another main character, to realize that politics has destroyed his own family, something that she has related to in her life, being that her father left her mother for those same reasons. In The Infinite Plan, Gregory, one of the main characters, sees that the love of a woman, he used the love of a woman who records his story. He's through the love of a woman who records his story, he sees the injustice he is perpetrating upon his family and turns his efforts towards renewing himself. And through that, he can see the love for his family allows him to see himself and the damage that he is doing to his family. In The Daughter of Fortune, the pursuit of love allows the main character, Eliza, to understand her identity, establish personal freedom, and potentially end the cycle of denial and cognitive dissonance among her family members. So the book Love allows these characters to see the damage, and not only see the damage, to fix the damage before it's too late in their lives. Again, reiterating Allende's belief that love conquers all. Allende has said that she writes to speak for those who have no political power, for women who have no voice, for Latin American women who have no voice, for Latin American women who face injustices, for the women who have hopes that one day a hero will hear their voice. Her writing is a commitment to her readers, to the commitment of the woman that she has left behind in Latin America. She has committed her life to socialist movement, to the movement of women, to the movement of women having a voice, to the movement to have women to have equal rights, equal liberties, not under rule of the men. Even though she has left Latin America and moved to the United States of America, she knows that memories and writing is what helps preserve her country, what helps preserve her Latin American heritage. She knows that if she writes it down and she continues to write about it, others can learn about her heritage. Others can learn from her experiences. She hopes that a woman reading it one day, reading her work and seeing about her movement and her fight for equal justice among women, will change a woman's life. And not alone a woman, may change a man's life as well. The end.